In a tech-heavy market, your stock, a manufacturing stock, suddenly become pretty hot, up about 56% from its March low. How has the pandemic changed your production and demand?
Well, we're quite a fortunate company because we've been deemed an essential business from the get-go, and products that we make are the products what consumers have. But this began even before the pandemic. You mentioned about sustainability. The world over the last several years has really put its shoulder into it. Most people don't realize that 75% of all aluminum ever produced in mankind is still in use today, and that the average can you pick up has probably over 72 or 73% of recycled content in it. So it indeed is the most recyclable container. As a result of that, we've actually seen can demand be very strong over the last couple of years. Now, it definitely accelerated, as you mentioned, 24% in March, and it's been up mid-teens every month since then, because when you think about it, it makes a lot of sense. People drink cans at home, and as we've been quarantined, they've been stockpiling their favorite alcoholic or non-alcoholic beer, and that's certainly been a benefit to us.
So, John, can these trends actually continue beyond the pandemic? People are stocking up right now, but if there's a vaccine or some other development, do you see this trend continuing?
Yeah, we had anticipated, not only here in the United States, but globally, our can volumes, historically they've grown around the world, call it 2 to 3% a year. And we had expected for the foreseeable future, meaning, over the next 7-10 years, doubling of that, kind of the 4 to 6%. Now, we've had a short-term spike because of the pandemic, but the reality is all the trends are focusing towards consumers using more recycled aluminum containers. One example for you, in 2015, approximately 1/3 of all new beverage SKUs that were launched into the market were used in cans. By 2019, that was 2/3, it was 67%. And in 2020, it's over 70%. That's what's driving a lot of this demand, in addition to the pantry stuffing. You think about spiked seltzers, you think about your favorite sparkling waters, you're finding wine in cans, you're finding coffee in cans. Even on the traditional beer and soft drink, you're seeing more and more cans in the marketplace. So I think long term, it's very good for us.
So you mentioned a lot of stocking up. How has e-commerce grocery delivery impacted your business? I mean, of course, cans are a little heavier than some other ways of transporting beverages. Has that helped or hurt?
Well, actually, cans are the lightest way in some ways of transporting beverages. It's just that the beverage itself is quite heavy. We have not seen a large-scale shift to online, delivery of beverages, whether it be still water or other things. I think there's a role for that as we go forward. But as you mentioned, the weight and what happens is you wait out the truck when they put everything else on it, so they're not as able to get as much things on the truck. That is an inhibitor to that. But I do think the whole e-commerce thing is a net plus, because if for everything went e-commerce on the beverage side, we'd be a winner in that, because glass is much heavier, and because of the way the cans stack, it stacks much more efficiently than PET bottles.
Well, thanks for correcting me on that glass versus aluminum weight situation. One thing I noticed that you're based there in Colorado. Another person based there in Colorado is Pete Kors. He's spoken out a lot about the volatility in aluminum. How does that impact your business? During the trade war, there were tariffs on aluminum. And coming up, there's a lot of speculation there may be more tariffs on aluminum coming from Mexico and Canada. Does that impact your business negatively, or is that just increased demand? Are you able to pass that cost on to your customers?
Well, for the most part, our business is a pass-through model, so we are able to pass it on. But, it has been quite challenging. And look, I understand the policy reason why they implemented aluminum. The aluminum industry in North America for our packages really hasn't invested anything in the last 20, 30 years. And there's a shortage right now with the growth of the aluminum beverage can and no capacity going in. There is a shortage, so we're forced to go outside. The intent of many of these tariffs is to create a situation where the domestic suppliers will then invest in the business. And the incumbents so far have not been doing that. And that forces us to go outside the borders. We would love to be able to buy all the aluminum we use for the United States in the United States, but unfortunately, there's just not enough capacity, and so we pass it through to our customers.
John, you hit us with a stat that really shocked me. You said about 70, and correct me if I'm wrong, 75% of all the aluminum ever produced still exists and is still being used. That's amazing. Can you talk about the push towards sustainability and investing and how that's impacted your stock and also demand from your customers?
Yeah, well, I think consumers for the first time in a long time are really waking up to the reality that we are polluting our planet. And I do think this pandemic has actually put a spotlight on that because we're all been sitting at home and we're seeing exactly what we're throwing out and seeing the traditional waste and single use mindset we used to have. It's in our face every single day. And so I think the aluminum, it's the only thing that in the beverage world that actually has economic value in a recycling stream. That's why 75% of it's been used over and over and over again. The statistic is you can take a beverage can, and within 60 days, you can throw it away, collect it, melt it back down, turn it back into a beverage can, and it can be on the shelf. No other package can do that. I think it does as we go forward, as people become more aware of the environment in which we live and our responsibility to do something like that. And the aluminum scrap has economic value where other substrates do not. That all plays for the perfect material for beverage containers.